All right. Well, thank you to everyone for joining today. Excited to walk you through the Sourcegraph application. Quick agenda for this morning's review. Going to share a little bit more about Sourcegraph, who we are, the problems that we're solving, and why this matters to you and your business. We'll spend the vast majority of our time walking through the actual application itself. And of course, as questions arise, want to get those answered throughout. So drop those in the chat, or otherwise we'll reserve some time at the back end to get that answered. Before we go any further, though, do want to introduce myself. My name is Owen Brennan from the strategic account side here at Sourcegraph. Joining me is my colleague Jonah, who's going to walk us through the application when we get to that point. So Jonah, if you want to say hey.
Hello. Yeah, I'm Jonah. I'm on the customer engineering team here at Sourcegraph. So essentially my job is to help our customers get the most out of Sourcegraph and give them the help and support that they need along the way. So excited to show it off today.
Excellent. Thanks, Jonah. So given we have some time set aside here and want to make sure we cover all aspects of this, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So a little bit of background on us here at Sourcegraph. We've been around since 2013. And principally what we do for the enterprise organizations that we work with is provide them universal code search, intelligence, code change campaigns, provide code insights, and code security. So we're going to cover all these things once we get into the application to give you an in-depth look at this. But why do we do this, and why is it so relevant to the ecosystem that we live in today and in this era of big code? Particularly that stems upon the fact that we're helping our customers solve problems around enhancing developer productivity across the entire team, helping them catch more bugs with more effective and just generally better code reviews in leveraging Sourcegraph from a universal perspective, helping them to automate error fixes in a more rapid fashion, and doing that safely is a huge component of that. Layering thereof is in terms of from a security aspect, how we help to find and resolve security issues that could be quite robust, much faster in the business implications in a positive light that result from that. The final aspect that we wanted to highlight today, because there are of course many more, is helping you to ramp developers faster. This can take a number of different forms. The obvious is when we have new team members join from an engineering capacity, can help you to scale those individuals much quicker. But also as you migrate from team to team within an engineering org, or even something as simple as a Tiger team internally. So those are the core areas that we're going to focus on today. There are a myriad more of them. And after the fact, as a part of our follow-up, would love to dig into how each of these and additional areas impact your business specifically. So diving back into our value proposition and why Sourcegraph is so valuable to our customer base and how we can help you get this spun up and install Sourcegraph is we're living in an era of big code. And with big code comes more complexity, more developers, and obviously more code. So when we started Sourcegraph, our perspective is that existing tools were and still are really insufficient without use of Sourcegraph as a universal code search tool. IDEs really are falling short in terms of supporting your developers within a single code base. And we saw a market opportunity in the sense that Facebook and Google have internally built a similar tool to achieve the same elements of business impact that we just reviewed, but they did so by spending millions and millions of dollars. And so our goal is to make this available, and we have to you, and we're looking forward to giving you a look at it. What this looks like in practice, again, I really want to emphasize and highlight what we're seeing here at the top in the sense that this is a true universal code search tool. So we're going to highlight that when we dive into the demo here in just a moment to start with. And layering off of universal code search comes a myriad of valuable assets ranging from code discovery, diving into code intelligence and understanding that across all languages, code change management, and then integrating that, as we can see at the bottom here, into your existing workflow, whether you're using an IDE like an IntelliJ or VS Code, whether you're using a code coverage tool like CodeCov. We're going to highlight that at the back end in terms of how Sourcegraph extensions can allow Sourcegraph to become just that, an extension of your existing workflow. So I mentioned at the top, we're very fortunate to work with a number of different great brands. Just a quick look at some of the great brands that we do have the pleasure of working with today. Call this out because as questions arise, please ask us. We want to get those answered, and we're happy to draw upon experience that we have in working with these great brands to get you the best answer possible. So without any further ado, I'm going to toss it over to Jonah to now walk us through the Sourcegraph application.
Cool, thanks, Owen. Let me get my screen shared here. Does that look good for everyone?
We got you.
Cool. All right, so I won't waste your time explaining any more about Sourcegraph. Owen did a great job of that. So let's just go ahead and dive right into what Sourcegraph actually is and how it works. Again, we really want to focus on how universal Sourcegraph is and with our code search, our universal code search, meaning that wherever your code is stored, whether that's GitHub, GitLab, Fabricator, Bitbucket, or even locally on-prem, you can search across it once it's integrated in Sourcegraph, which is really, really cool. So to highlight this, I'm going to be demoing some search features within our Sourcegraph repo hosted on GitHub. And so for the sake of this demo, I'm going to be using our public instance at sourcegraph.com, which you can actually head to after this demo if you want to mess around with it and try these things out for yourself. Highly encourage you to do that. And so for the sake of this demo, let's say that I'm a fairly new developer, still getting ramped up here at Sourcegraph. And one of the first projects I'm working on is to integrate a new authentication provider into the project I'm working on. And so I want to find instances of authorization providers throughout my code base to see how they've been implemented in the past. So I'm going to start by just searching across my code base to find those examples and go from there. So in this case, I've specified the repo that I want to search in. In this case, it's our Sourcegraph repo on github.com. And I do that using the repo filter flag here. And then I'm going to go ahead and type my query. So in this case, it's going to be new auth. Oh, can't type today. New auth provider. And you'll notice we have a few different search options here. By default, literal search is enabled. But we also have a couple other search modes like regular expression, which allows for even more functionality and deeper search types using regular expression syntax, as well as structural search, which we won't dive into a whole lot today. But essentially, structural search allows you to search, like code snippets or blocks of code or even content within your within code files. And I'm happy to provide some resources on that if there's any questions around it. So for this query, we're going to be using regular expression. So I'm going to enable that. And you'll see right away, we're presented with a ton of results throughout this repo. You can see we got 73 results in about 1/3 of a second. So really, really fast. You can see I have some markdown files, some Go files. In this case, the function that I'm looking for, I know is written in Go. And Sourcegraph has actually intelligently recommended some filters to help me get to where I want to be. And so in this case, I'm going to apply the Golang filter. So now I'm seeing results only written in Go, only Go files. I'm also seeing some test files in here. For this case, I don't really care about those. Sourcegraph has also guessed that. So it's suggested a file remove filter or a test file remove filter. So if I click on that, now I'm left with only Go files, no test files. Now I can really start digging into what I'm looking for. So as I'm scrolling through, I see this nuanced providers file down here. And this looks like something I may be interested in. So I'm going to click into that. And this is where we get into our code navigation functionality. And so you can see this is a very similar environment to, say, like an IDE. So we wanted this to be very familiar to devs so they could get ramped up quickly and feel right at home within Sourcegraph. And this brings us into what we call code intelligence, like Owen mentioned. So the ability to see definitions and find references throughout your code base quickly and easily. And we do this through our hover tooltips. So if I hover over this nuanced providers function, I'm instantly presented with a definition of what this function is. So again, as a fairly new developer, this is super helpful for me in getting more of that context around this function and understanding it so I can integrate it into my project. You also see I can click find references and I can see references across my entire code base. Keep in mind, this isn't just this won't just show references within the repo you're searching in, but anywhere this function appears across my entire code base. So again, super helpful in seeing how other people have implemented this function and how I could do so in my project. Another example of go to definition, for example, if the root definition isn't within this file, I can click go to definition here, and it'll actually take me to the root definition, which should show up. It's being a little buggy now. There we go, there it was. So it'll actually show me the root definition in the file that it appears in, which again, is super handy in getting that context. So let me go back to that original file. Another thing we have integrated directly into Sourcegraph is git blame. So you have the ability to see changes on each line of code, who changed it and how long ago. So again, super handy in seeing how your code base changes over time and doing those code reviews. So for example, down here on line 73, I see my coworker Joe has changed this file about 4 months ago. And just for context, Joe's GitHub username is actually unknown. So no, that's not an error. That's just Joe being Joe. And I can actually click on this. This is a link that'll take me directly into the commits. This is the GitHub commit, but keep in mind, we're still within Sourcegraph. So I can see the changelog, I can see the diff. I can also open this up in GitHub if I wanted to, using our view on GitHub button. So if I click on that, again, this opens up directly in GitHub. And using our Sourcegraph Chrome extension, which you'll see right here, this enables that same code intelligence and search functionality directly within Chrome and directly within GitHub. So I don't even need to be in our sourcegraph.com instance. I can be on github.com and still get those hover tooltips and that code intelligence, which is super handy. So going back to sourcegraph.com, I want to highlight some other search types we have. So not only can we search code files, but we can search other things as well. So let me change my query this time. I'm going to use Bitbucket server. And again, using regular expression. So now I can see things like commits, anything related to a Bitbucket server commit. I can see files. So any file path containing Bitbucket server, no matter where it shows up in that file path tree, I can see anything referencing Bitbucket server. Same with diffs here. I can load up any diffs that relate to Bitbucket server and see them. Another really handy feature we have is saved search queries. So say, for example, I want to see anytime a diff is created that references Bitbucket server, I can actually click save the search query. And it'll save it to my user profile within Sourcegraph. And I can actually get email notifications sent to me anytime this query pops up that contains Bitbucket server. Again, super helpful in seeing changes to your code base and being aware of them. Another thing I'll briefly touch on here is our extensions functionality. So similar to like how Chrome has extensions built in, we also have extensions built into Sourcegraph that enable additional features and functionality. This is also open source, so you can actually develop and create your own extensions for use in Sourcegraph. We do have some already created. For example, we have CodeCov extension, which enables you to see unit test coverage through your search results as you're using Sourcegraph. We also have Datadog integration, SonarQube, Sneak. We also have integrations with some popular code editors. So VS Code, Atom, IntelliJ, Sublime. Enabling these extensions allows you to get that core Sourcegraph functionality directly within your IDE. Another cool feature that we recently just released that we're really excited about is what we call campaigns. And I'll briefly touch on this as well, just because I think it's really, really cool. And I think a lot of people will find it interesting. So I'm going to go on our dog food instance here. And I'm going to click on campaigns. You can actually see here, essentially what campaigns are, they allow you to make large scale changes across your entire code base. So from one campaign spec file, you can specify what you want this campaign to do, and it'll automatically create those change sets, those relevant change sets or PRs across your entire code base and make those changes for you. So for example, if we wanted to say update these Golang base images across our entire code base, through one spec file that we have here, where we specify what we want to take place and the steps we want to do on each of these queries, it then creates the relevant change sets, and we can see them throughout our entire code base. So super handy there. I'll go ahead and stop there. Are there any questions so far about search or code intel or extensions or anything like that? Nothing. All right. Owen, is there anything else that you think would be cool to cover in our remaining time?
Yeah, so I will add and kind of piggyback off of your sentiment there, Jonah. I know we have a bit of a diverse group here, and so sometimes questions can be tough to ask verbally. Want to offer once more, if folks do have questions, feel free to drop those in the chat as well, and we can get those answered here on the fly. Alternatively, if it makes more sense for you, we can follow up with each of you individually to gain a deeper understanding of how long you've been testing Sourcegraph out from a local install perspective, and set some time with you to review this one-on-one. So with us directly, of course. So I'll hit the pause button here again for another couple minutes. We purposely allow some time on the back end here of this half hour. If there are any questions, feel free to throw them at us. Otherwise, we'll give you a little bit of time back in your day and follow up with each of you individually. All right, looks like we do have one question coming in here, Jonah. What Sourcegraph features have customers found the most effective? That's a great question. Jonah, I'll allow you to add some more depth here after I take a stab at it. You know, a bit of a question back to you, but it really depends on your specific use case in terms of which feature is the most impactful. At its core, Sourcegraph is a universal code search tool. So that's a capability that candidly doesn't really exist elsewhere in the market today. So foundationally, giving that capability to an organization in an engineering department is groundbreaking, and that's what we see across our customer base. So diving right in, being able to search across repositories, across your entire code base, across all language sets, really makes a huge difference at the organizational level. And outside of just productivity impact, which is huge from having that, has a lot of other positive business applications. From there, diving a little bit deeper into the code intelligence aspect is monumental as well. So understanding what these things mean. And then, of course, it goes on and carries on from there. So hopefully that's helpful. I know that's kind of a 30,000 foot level answer, if you will, but would be a great action item to understand your specific use cases for it, because no two customers that leverage Sourcegraph are the same. Jonah, anything you'd add there?
No, I think that pretty much sums it up. Again, there's so many useful features and functionality built into Sourcegraph, and universal code search being the main thing. And it just kind of depends on your use case and what you're looking to get out of the tool. But yeah, like Owen said, we hear every day from our customers that say, you know, I don't know how I lived without this. This has made my life so much easier as a developer. You know, the ability to search across my entire code base, no matter where it lives, that's pretty huge for a lot of people. And so I'd say, you know, by far, that's our universal code search is definitely one of our most effective features. But honestly, we have so many cool things in here related to code search and code intelligence that there's pretty much useful and effective features for pretty much everyone in every use case.
Awesome. Thanks, Jonah. Does that answer the direct? Oh, there we go. Thanks. Cool. Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think it would make sense. Our team can follow up after the fact to dig a little bit deeper in terms of what specific impact it could make for your group and team as a whole. Other questions that come to mind, Peter dropped in, can Sourcegraph take you back to the specific GitHub pull request that merged the line? So John, I'll let you grab that one.
Yeah, so let me share my screen again, and we'll just walk through this flow. So let's go back to that query I ran earlier. We'll open up this file, and let me get this open here. So yeah, so you're asking about like the actual commit within GitHub, right? Or the PR itself.
Yep, that's right, Jonah.
Okay, so I opened up the wrong file. There we go. So let me, for example, open up this commit. So again, this commit by default, when we click that blame link, opens up within GitHub, or sorry, within Sourcegraph. But again, I have that view on GitHub button. So if I click on that, opens up here. And so now I'm able to see everything related to to the commit and to the PR directly within GitHub. So again, this is the entire diff here. Are you asking about like the ability to view the actual PR? Let me get the chat.
Yes, Jonah, yep.
Okay. So this is actually not something I want to say definitely for sure that's possible. Yeah, here we go. So I believe this would be the PR here. So you can just click the ID number here and open it up within GitHub and then see everything related to the actual PR and all the comments and that good stuff directly from the GitHub commit. If your question was more related to, can I view this within Sourcegraph itself? I don't believe so. You'd have to first go to GitHub and then go to the PR from there. Does that answer the question? Awesome.
Yeah, no stress, Peter. Any other questions from the group? We do have some time left, so want to make sure we get any things answered. How does what does the VS Code integration look like? Yeah, great question, Jonah. If you could pull up the extension library and we can look at it. I don't know if in terms of having VS Code installed, I doubt you have it ready to go, Jonah. So
yeah, unfortunately, I don't have VS Code installed, so I couldn't show you like within the IDE itself. But for example, if I open up the extension, it should have some information on here.
Screenshots in here, yeah.
So essentially what it does is similar to how you'll have that view on GitHub button. You'll have the open file in VS Code. So any file that you open within your search query, you can then click this VS Code button and it'll open that up in VS Code. And I believe we do have native integrations with this editor as well. So then you would get that same code intel find reference, go to definition functionality that you would within Sourcegraph. You'd get it within VS Code with this extension.
Yeah, and really what we see, folks, what we see in our customer base as a function of this is whether you're leveraging this with VS Code, we also have integrations with Sublime Text, IntelliJ is another really popular one. You know, the outcome of that is helping you to really stay in flow, right? You know, you can have your IDE pulled up in one screen and link that to Sourcegraph directly there. What we also have within Sourcegraph is a Chrome extension too. As Jonah's showing right now, so you could have that pulled up in your browser window in another. So I think you'd find across our customer base, some folks are similar, but folks leverage Sourcegraph in a myriad of ways. And that's exactly why we have all these great extensions to support that.
And just to add on to that, as we're getting close to time here, I definitely encourage you all to check out our docs.sourcegraph.com website. We have some really cool guides on a lot of these features, so code intel extensions that really dive in depth and provide some more information on those there. So definitely check that out if you have time.
Yeah, great point, Jonah. Excellent. Well, as we do come at time here, I want to make sure that we're thoughtful of your schedules and end this here on time. Again, want to make sure we keep the conversation going. So from a next step standpoint here, we will reach out individually and see if it makes sense to set up some time to dig a bit deeper with each of you on your specific use cases. Really appreciate everyone for making the time. Excited that your interest to Sourcegraph took you to create a local install. And looking forward to learning a bit more about your specific use cases very soon. Thanks again, Jonah, and thanks to everyone who made the time to join.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.